Steph have much to say about game one?
We haven't talked today. I stayed away from it by design. So. Sean's going to play tonight.
There you go.
There you go, Jenny.
Okay. Is he limited at all, or is he
No.
good to, okay.
No. Andre's going to play, so.
Steve, how did DeMarcus look in the first practice, at least doing more with the group today?
We had a shoot around, so there wasn't much to look at. He looked great, but we didn't do anything.
See, the other night in Portland, the Wizards played a lot of small ball, trying to, I guess, exploit Nurkic a little bit. I'm sure you noticed that. I'm just wondering, with your center rotation, would that alter at all with Jordan and maybe Kavan and maybe even Jonas?
Definitely something that we've talked about and that we will go to if we think it'll help us. So, you know, Jordan is not out of the mix by any means. Just so happened that the first 4 games we played teams with monster centers, and DJ did a great job. But there's going to be different matchups like tonight that will call for more versatility, and so we've just been urging Jordan to keep his spirits up and stay ready, and you know, tonight could be a good night for him. Also, I asked Jonas specifically on the first day of camp, I said, how do you pronounce your name? What would you like me to call you? And he said, Jonas. Just want you to know.
Jonas? Eunice?
It's definitely not Eunice.
Eunice.
And I didn't ask him about the last name. I assume he's going to be specific with the silent J on both names, not just one. I don't think he's going American pronunciation on one and Swedish on the other. But I purposely asked. Just like last year, I asked Omri first day. He said, it's Omri. And then I heard our broadcasters call him Omri all year. And so I talked to Fitz, and he said, well, that's the way it goes. I just call him Omri. So.
Did you ask Nick last year?
Did I ask?
Nick.
Nick Young?
Yeah.
It was not Nick Jung, it was Young. It pronounces the Y. So.
Going back to Steph and the clip at which he started the season, 5 3-pointers and at least, 5 or more 3-pointers in at least every game so far. What is it like when you have somebody so essential to the offense have a hot start to the season?
We're kind of used to it with Steph. I mean, he's just so consistent and so lethal. And, but it's been especially helpful given that our other 3-point shooting hasn't really come around yet. And that's only a matter of time, especially with KD and Clay. But with those two guys starting off a little slowly from the 3-point line, it's been really big for Steph to be hot from there.
Steve, you've got a sense of basketball history, and they're going to honor the 75 team tonight. Do you have any thoughts on? Do you feel kind of kinship with a guy like Adels, who, you know, was the coach of that championship team, and had some similarities to you in some ways? Yeah,
so it's been great. Last week we had Joe Robertson, the assistant coach to Al. He came in, visited us, and this morning at shoot-around we had, I think, 5 of the players. We had George Johnson, we had Jamal Wilkes, Butch Beard, Charles Dudley, and Clifford Ray. Am I missing anybody?
That was it.
Yeah.
Just Rick couldn't make it this morning.
Rick couldn't make it, and I think he'll be here tonight.
He'll be here tonight, yeah.
But it was great to have those guys at shoot-around, and they came in and talked to our players. We kind of all mingled for a little while, and it was nice nice to have that time together and to hear from them, especially without Rick there, because we know we'll hear from Rick tonight. Just jokes, just making jokes.
As somebody with a pretty good backcourt yourself, what challenges do John and Brad present to opposing defenses to try to stop them?
They're both really dynamic. You know, Brad can score from anywhere on the floor, and you know, John is as fast as any point guard end to end in the league. So you know, together they form a really dynamic pairing. So we've got to be able to stay in front of them, whether that means the person who's guarding him or possibly a big switching out on him. We've got to find a way to contain that penetration.
Coach, you mentioned Clay's kind of slow start, and I know you always talk about how low maintenance he is, but is there anything you say to him? You draw up a couple extra plays, or you just wait for him to start falling?
Definitely don't need to draw up any extra plays. One thing I love about Clay is that he's going to shoot his way out of anything. So we haven't talked. You know, he's been down this road before. I think it's happened a couple of times at the beginning of seasons. I think sometimes it's a weird feeling when you have a great preseason and then you start the regular season and all those games don't count, and then you get off to a little bit of a slow start and it feels almost unfair, you know. But there's just so many games ahead, and he'll settle in. Hopefully, starting tonight, he'll start knocking some down. But you know how it is with Clay. Once he gets a few to go, the dam breaks, and he's rolling.
Steve, you've been starting that second and fourth quarter with Draymond at the center. I don't know if that was exactly the plan going into the season, since you said you didn't want to play him that much at center. But does it just kind of evolve that way? Do you imagine sticking with it? Is it, or you want to look at maybe another center there at some point?
I imagine that'll be DeMarcus when he comes back. That makes the most sense. But the reason I've gone to that the last couple of games is for offensive continuity. You know, we ran everything through David West the last couple of years at the start of the second and the fourth. And we had a nice identity with that group. And I thought the first couple games we were kind of searching for an offensive game plan to go to. And so I went with Draymond because he's the most familiar with our offense. We can play through him on the post, on the low post. And I like changing the look anyway a little bit. And usually when we're playing him in that spot, he's not having to deal with a huge center. That's usually when the starting center is off, and that was the case the last couple games. So, you know, when I say I don't really want to play him at the 5, it's more I'm talking about against the big monster centers where he's got to battle like crazy down on the block. But you know, so many of the minutes in the NBA now are played against small lineups. So center, you know, forward, it doesn't really matter what you call it. It's the same job.
Hey Steve, to what extent would you like Kevin to look for shots from 3-point range, just knowing that he is so efficient with that mid-range?
He can have any shot he wants. Kevin, Steph, Clay, they've got a neon green light every night. So I trust them to take good ones and to create good ones for other people. But they're all licensed to let loose from the 3-point line anytime they want.
Steve, pace numbers around the league, usually pace is higher early in the season, kind of goes down by the time you get to January, February, but right now they're like wild compared to what they've been in starts in previous years. Why do you think it's grown specifically this year, just kind of disproportionately how it has?
I just think it's sort of come to a head. You know, the style, you know, the copycat nature of the league. I think that it's been leading to this point really over the last probably 12, 14 years. I still go back to that Suns team in 2004 with Nash and Stoudemire that took the league by storm. Since that time, more and more teams have opened up the floor, put shooters around you know, the point guard, and you know, I think we've definitely sort of have played as fast as we can in the open floor over the last few years, and I think just the success that we've had has probably led some other teams to say, you know, that's a fun style, and so you throw it all together, kind of where the league has been trending, and our own success, and the success of some of the other fast teams over the last few years. I think it all is sort of coming to a head, and now everybody is playing that way.
Steve, I know you guys have said that you keep the door open for a Pat, but how comfortable are you going with what you have in terms of Quinn, Sean, and a little bit of Andre in terms of backup minutes at the point at the guard?
I'm comfortable with it. I mean, I have a lot of faith in Quinn based on last year, what he did when Steph was out. Andre and Sean, I'm always trusting of them to handle the offense. I also really like what I saw from Alfonso the other night. I thought those were great minutes, and he's not a point guard, but he allows us to slide other people over to play the point. So, you know, we're manning the position well, and I'm happy with everybody's effort. But the door is definitely still open for Patrick.
Hey, Steve. Hey. DeMarcus Cousins, his return, does it have any impact, the league pace and the way that centers are shooting threes and how up and down the game is? Would it matter if this was 90 possessions a game versus 110 possessions a game for DeMarcus and his readiness to come back?
I don't think it would matter. Now, it may affect how many minutes he plays right away. You know, his conditioning will determine a lot of that. And the game's faster, there's no question. So he's going to have to get up and down the floor. But that stuff won't determine when he comes back. I think when he comes back is going to be when he's ready to play, when our training staff feels comfortable throwing him out there. And then it'll be a matter of how effective he is and how his conditioning is, and we'll help him through that process.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that.